Just a few years ago, we were talking about the dramatic drop in crude prices. And what do you have? A few months and now crude's back at $70. And the OPEC production cuts seem to get reaffirmed every few weeks. And now people are talking about $100 as well. Do you think that is a near or medium-term possibility?
I think I would be surprised to see $100 sometime very soon. In a normal political context. Of course, geopolitics developments are something that you cannot predict. But if everything is left to the markets, I don't see any reason we can see a $100 oil price. When we look at the year 2018, we see more of a balanced picture. A lot of oil will come from the United States. We have a healthy oil demand growth, and as you mentioned, OPEC countries are keeping their production at a certain level to push the prices up. Having said that, the pushing the prices up may well turn into a surprise for those countries, because these higher prices will provide additional incentive to U.S. shale oil, as we have predicted several years ago. And this would mean that more oil will come to the market and will provide downward pressure on the oil prices. So a good news for countries like India, who are the oil importers. But when we look at the U.S. in general terms, in the big picture, the shale picture, I would say that U.S. will be the undisputed leader of oil and natural gas for many years to come.
I know, and you've been saying that for quite some time now. Do you think 70 is the price at which crude will settle or thereabouts? Or do you think at this point, there's enough incentive for shale to come in a big way, and that in fact we might see some downward pressure on prices in the medium term?
I think we are seeing that the shale oil, for example, this year, more than 1 million barrels per day, as much as the oil demand grows. It's met by U.S. shale only. And these are the production from the projects which were carried out when the prices were much lower. Mm-hmm. With the $70, if it remains so, we may see more U.S. oil to come. In fact, when I look at the year 2018, it's a balanced market, but I see two potential surprises. One of them is U.S. production may go much higher than we expect as a result of this prices. This upward or upbeat surprise. The second one is Venezuela. Oil production may go down much further than we assume. In a very short period of time, about 1 year of time, Venezuela lost about 500,000 barrels per day. And when you look at even before, when the time that Mr. Chavez took to power, and today, Venezuelan oil production halved. So this is a big thing. And when we look at the Venezuelan oil markets now, there is almost no activity, no risks, no financing. We may need to revise down our numbers for Venezuela, and this may be for the production of oil, this may be a downward surprise.
Okay. Do you see, if a large quantity of shale comes into the market, this hurting the OPEC cooperation or cartelization, however you want to call it? Because, I'm sure that while the Middle East is very keen, because this is their only form of revenue, other countries will start worrying about whether the production cuts are yielding what they hoped.
Now, in fact, after the shale oil came into the picture, the game changed completely. Mm-hmm. The major resource holders in Middle East and Russia are not able to determine the market trends alone. If they make one move, there is a reaction from the U.S. Shale oil and shale gas, and therefore, for me, the best advice I would give to them is diversify their economies as soon as possible. Otherwise, they'll be very vulnerable to the change in the oil prices. Saudi Arabia had a recession after 15 years for the first time last year, and also the lots of renewable energies coming to the market and also challenging oil, if not today, maybe tomorrow.
Okay. So do you think this is going to be the dominant trend for 2018, the fact that we'll see this constant push and pull between crude oil prices and shale supply, and of course the renewable story, which is again one that you've been talking about worldwide and in India as well?
Yes. Yeah, we will see this story 2018 and many years to come. It will be the case. But for the renewables, they are growing very strongly.
Yeah.
And India is definitely one of the leaders here in terms of especially solar energy, making major achievements and especially helpful for electrification of the country. And as a result of that, we are seeing an unprecedented success story in India, bringing electricity to hundreds of millions of people. So renewables are very helpful in that respect.
Are you sure it's an unprecedented success story? Because we have in the last several months now been looking at tariffs falling fairly dramatically, as a result of which, many of those who buy power are keen to renegotiate, power purchase agreements, and that is leading to a great degree of dissonance in the power market as a whole in India, not just the renewables power market. It's also putting a considerable amount of pressure on producers. Do you think prices in India are at a sustainable level at all?
I mean, the prices are an important factor of buying electricity, selling electricity. But what India has succeeded is that they are now able to connect everybody to electricity. Not everybody, but almost everybody to electricity in a very short period of time. And in my humble view, it is one of the biggest achievements of Prime Minister Modi and his government. But of course, to find the right tariff for electricity is very important. On one hand, the consumers shouldn't be punished, but on the other hand, prices should be at a certain level to give an incentive for the investors to build new power plants to bring electricity. So we have to find the right balance there.
And do you think Indian prices have dropped way too low?
I think it's up to the Indian people to decide, but there is a need to see whether this current level of prices are good enough, sufficient enough to make investments for new power plants.